Just as we talk, I want you to think that this will be what kids will see. Let me adjust this really quick. This light is super in my face, so I can't see it. Hopefully that will be better. And what we're going to do, let me give you this. So this is the link if you want to get into this. I'll also show it in the middle, or talk about the link again in the middle or at the end, so you can see the session first before you're invested. One thing about Canva, I love their slides, but they don't save in Google Drive, and it's hard to find them again. So however it is you're digitally curating your resources, you can just put this link. So the link is infused.me/best24. So I'm going to go past it in a second and maybe give you a chance to get there. And I'm going to explain a couple things first, and hopefully, and people walk in and makes me afraid. You guys take a picture of this link. And you're not like extraordinarily late. I should put that everywhere. So I'll explain who I am instead of going to the picture because you can see the real life version from here. But my name is Holly Clark and I live in San Diego. And in 1999, I have discovered that there are people now sitting in my audiences who were not even born yet when I was teaching in the one-to-one classroom. And I got that one-to-one classroom in Silicon Valley from a man who owned Netscape. His kid, or it's a little iffy what was going on there. He gave me that one-to-one classroom where when I did stuff, none of the parents were, I don't want my kid on YouTube, by the way. There wasn't YouTube. Would it come for 6 or 7 more years? But the things that I did, parents were like, let's try it out, because they were executives at what would become Apple and Google and places like that. And so everyone was like, let's see what I can do for education. So I had a very unique experience that made what I did a little bit different. And because of that, I have been, then I became the director of technology and then all the things. And now I spend a lot of time helping people think about how they're going to implement AI because I've been doing it since day one, since November of 2022 with kids. I did it wrong at first, a little bit, and I'm going to teach you some of those lessons. Now I've got it down to, I love this stuff that's happening in the classrooms. So, I'm Holly, like I said, and these are some of the things, you can get this in the slide deck. This is how you get to some of my information. I wrote a book called The AI Infused Classroom, and also the Google Infused Classroom, and a few infused classrooms, but right now that's the big one. And if you've ever heard me speak, I always start with this because I think it's foundational. We have kids who are in kindergarten right now who will graduate in 2036. In December, ChatGPT is going to be giving us ChatGPT 5. They say it's going to be a model that will blow our minds. That will be still in 2024. What will 2036 look like? I don't know. I'm not even going to try and guess. But here's what's more important to you. Those same kids will go into retirement in 2085. The classrooms I often walk by are getting kids ready for 1985. They're going to the copy machine and making word searches and a bunch of worksheet packets, which I'm not going to say in this session that you shouldn't do things like an analog. I think this is a yes and situation. But if I have to substitute a word search for a little fun activity where a kid gets to interact with AI or something like school AI, I'm going to go to the school AI bot every single time. And you're going to hear me talk about school AI. If you were in the keynote, so did AJ Giuliani, he talked about it. That right now is my number one app along with Grace. I love these two apps and what they're doing in my classroom. Doesn't mean other apps aren't good. It just means what I see happening with my kids who are ESL learners, my dyslexic, my gifted kids who just sometimes get stuck in like they have to be perfect. All of these kids, what I'm seeing happen is amazing. But this 2085 is a century different from where we're getting kids ready. So we're going to think about, okay, we know that. We're here for best practices, let's talk about them. And we're going to talk about, if you're going to bring AI into your classroom, what should that do? Before we do, I want to get settled into a couple things that I'll probably just use I'll talk about these two slides a lot so that we're grounded. But in AI in 2024, here's what happens. The prominent tool has been ChatGPT. When people think about AI, they think about ChatGPT. I want to tell you that when I work with teachers, and I probably worked with 100,000 this year, and I do a session where they go into Gemini, they go into Copilot, they go into ChatGPT, they go into Anthropic's Claude, and they go on Google. Every single time, they like Gemini better. Just so you know. If you haven't been using Gemini, you might want to make sure that you do it before the end of this conference. And they like it because it provides more accessible information for students. I'm not here to sell you any of that. I'm just telling you what I have found by working with teachers. So that prominent tool has been ChatGPT, and when parents think of us bringing AI into the classroom, they might think it's ChatGPT, but I'm not using any of those with kids. I don't recommend it. I wouldn't do it. And I'm going to show you today what I would do. But we need to understand what models do what. So if you want to be AI literate in 2024 and beyond, you should be asking, in your browser, you should have open Gemini, you should have open ChatGPT, and I like to use Anthropic because I don't have time for all of them. And I will ask the same question in all three of those large language models. And when I ask the same question, I see what they do differently. Oh, and Robert's a little more wordy about this. Oh, Gemini won't do this. By the way, I know the election is over. But if you had gone to Gemini during the election and asked, hey, there's this new guy, his name is Tim Walls. He's a teacher. I'm a teacher. What's up with that? Gemini would have said to you, I can't help you. It's an election right now, and I don't want to get it wrong, so I can't help you. ChatGPT would have said, oh, there's all these things you should know, and this is everything you should know. And Robert would have said to you, let's step back. So here's everything we need to know for background knowledge about Tim Walls. We're going to look at him this way, and Robert's going to give you the bigger picture. Knowing those things is super important, and knowing that it does that. So if you're always going to ChatGPT, that's not AI literate. And we'll just call it 28 through 25 and beyond. All right, so right now we have text, everything, images, music, lesson plans, yada yada. You guys know that. We know it's built on natural language processing, which is important because it can translate things into English as a second language learners' kids. There are some states that have like Nepali coming in and people from Nepal, and that language isn't there, but it gets really, really close. The Maori of New Zealand, their language isn't there yet. They get pretty close. And then the best practice use of AI in schools is through a thought partner and through instant feedback. We're actually going to do that today. So if you have a device, I'm going to have you on that in a second. Okay, really quickly, AI will have a consciousness about ethics, values, and norms. And here's what you need to know. That level of AI is called ACI, Artificial Capable Intelligence, not Artificial General Intelligence, it's a different form. Artificial Capable Intelligence were saying that it will be happening as soon as 2027. Not anymore. They think 2026. So a kindergartner will be the ripe old age of first grade before we have something that is capable of doing everything that we do. So know that when kindergartners graduate from high school, AI could be a billion times smarter than human, and that's more of a provocative prediction than it is a reality. We don't know. But here's what you need to know. When a kindergartner graduates, AI won't be on the phone or the screen. It will be everywhere. And it will be composing symphonies. It will be designing skyscrapers. It will be finding cures for some of our ailments. And this AI is not science fiction. It's the reality your students will graduate into. So we have to make sure we get them ready not for just being in that future, but for shaping it. And if they're not using AI in the classroom, they're not going to be ready for that job. So I want to get you guys doing something. Oh, just for my language arts teachers, which I am also, or was, I don't do this now, but when I'm back in San Diego, I'm working with kids in language arts classrooms. In 2 to 5 years, just like math, in 2 to 5 years, everything that comes across your desk will have been touched by AI, no matter what we want. So kids need to be able to understand how to use this, not to write the whole thing for them, but for editing, feedback, thought partnership, those things. So I'm going to just talk really quickly about this, and we're going to go in. We're talking about best practices with all the schools I work with throughout the world. I want you to think about this. Everyone's saying this, and I don't think it's true. We need to get teachers using the AI. I think that's true. But we don't need them in this training wheels scenario. When my teachers go to use a tool like School AI or Magic School or whatever it is to get lesson plan ideas, I also ask them to please check that same prompt with Gemini or ChatGPT so that you can get out of this training wheel situation where something else is doing a lesson plan for you or giving you DOK questions and you know how to find it yourself on ChatGPT. You know how to find it yourself on Gemini. Because I can't let you stay in this training wheel, because what happens, and you guys know this, we get the teacher phenomenon. Some teacher units are really interesting. Some are very bad. I walked by a classroom the other day where someone had bought a TPT unit and had kids writing checks. What world is that okay in? No one writes checks. When I see someone write a check, I take out my camera and look at this. Like, there's a few people left. But that person didn't critically edit the TPT. Now I'm going to talk to her. I'm not going to do that. Let's check those right now. That's not your math TPT. It's not going to happen. So I just want to make sure that some of those tools don't become this training wheel situation, and that I get AI in the hands of kids. So we're going to do something right now. I'm going to move past this really quickly and get you into a couple environments. Now, Chris just came out with a student version called Boost. I've only got to use it a few times, but we're still going to try because that's how life is going to be from now on. There are going to be apps I haven't had a chance to use with kids. I've been out on the road and I saw this come up, and I haven't used it with kids, and usually I won't talk about something that I haven't used for kids, but we're going to just do it so we can see it. So we're going to run over here really quick. Sorry, can't really see. And we're going to come into School AI. And give me 1 second. I'm getting to that age where I used to make fun of my mom when she was like, you know what nonsense? Now I'm there. Let me see if it shows up. It's not showing up. Here we go. And I'm going to bring you into the chat that I will use and use all all the time with students. And I want you to see how it works. Because right now, I'm training teachers on how to use AI, but I'm also getting kids in AI that's safe. And I'm going to talk about the data. I'm going to talk about all kinds of stuff. But I'm going to get you, now to get here, there's two ways you can do it. You can just use your phone. It'll be quick and easy, so that you can just see the experience. So when AJ talked about School AI, he was talking about this exact same app. So what I'm created here is a thought partner to help students, and I'll tell you another way from the class, I'll get in 1 second. I've created a thought partner to help students come up with an idea for a science fair project. Because as a teacher, they all want to do volcanoes. Can we move past that, please? If you are on your device, you can just go to schoolai.com, and at the bottom there will be enter a space code, and you can enter M75J. And that again is just schoolai.com, and at the bottom it'll say enter. Now I want you to interact with this, and I also want you to know that I'm going to get to see everything you do, just as a. You'll just put in your name, it's not going to ask for your email. And I want you to see how safe this is and how it won't often go off tasks. I just made this one last night, so it'll ask you a question, and it asks something like, what do you want to do a science fair project on? And my kids, Georgia might be different, but my kids all want to do theirs on Taylor Swift. And you can do a science project on Taylor Swift if you put that in, and you will find out how it helps you do that. Now, most of you seem to be in and engaged. Oh, there's an engaged word. And I'm just going to show you what I get to see on my end. There will be a kid or two in here who tries something like a 7th grader would, and you'll start to see that I can already see that RF is saying he doesn't or she doesn't like science. This is an opportunity for me as a teacher to move over to that area and focus on science, but do you like Taylor Swift? Because that could be a science project. I can't speak for Georgia, but in California, the Taylor Swift phenomenon allows me to really have a relationship with my kids because I also like her, and that's all I want to talk about. So I can see that aviation is strong interest in organic chemistry. I don't know if you have to teach littles. Use the speak button. See how that is. Use the microphone button because I use this app with kindergartners. It's natural. You never want to use the speak button in these sessions, but yet everyone will be on their speakerphone. So I think you guys are just not polite. Thank you. Just in case someone didn't get it, I'm going to put that keyword code back up and I'm going to go through some of this data. I do see there are a few people who are unhappy, so we could just like to do something. So for me, this code, I'm not having kids scan the code. In California, it's a state law, you can't use your phones in most classrooms, so we're not doing that. I'm putting this in Google Classroom, the link, or I'm putting it into Canvas, whatever. In this case, because I'm mostly, in the last week, I used it with littles. We put it into Clever. Does that work for you? Okay. So, I want you to look up at the screen, if you will, for a second. I want to explain what's happening and why I really like to say that. If the kid goes into ChatGPT at home, I have no idea about the conversation. ChatGPT gives answers. You want a science fair project? Here are 3 things you can do. This particular class didn't do that. It said, well, what are you interested in? And if I said Taylor Swift, it would come back and say, oh, do you want to do something on how music impacts emotions? And it would walk and keep asking me questions about that. I think you've all been a teacher. If you've ever been a teacher and asked kids to come up with their own idea about something, like a science fair project, they sit there and go, I have no idea what I want to do. And then I might give a couple ideas on the board, and I get 30 versions of that idea. No one can think outside the volcano. Can we stop already? It's cool and all. But like I don't need 30 volcanoes in my classroom. And so in that time when the kid just needs a thought partner to think through their idea, it doesn't mean they have to choose this. But then I can even ask about, well, what about hypotheses? And they will come up with some ideas for me. And I tell kids, you can talk through a hypothesis. A 5th grader needs to talk through a hypothesis. A 5th grader may even need an outline. We've been saying, oh, they got to come up with the outline on their own. And maybe that's why our writing scores are so low. Because guess what? The woman in my school in 5th grade who started to implement using this in another app, she took her 5th grade scores from mediocre in San Diego Unified, which is a really big district. Mediocre, she was middle of the road. She scored the best scores, like the top in the district last year, and she brought in AI. She didn't bring it in to write stuff for kids. She brought it in as a thought partner like this. Okay, we gotta come up with an idea for an argumentative essay. Let's get in here. What are you interested in? And now we're doing it on student agency. I'm doing something I'm interested in instead of back in the day when I first started teaching. I was like, we're gonna do on longer lunches. We're all gonna do. You're gonna love it. It's your favorite, right? Because we all want longer lunches or 4-day school weeks or school uniforms, some dumb stuff I did at the beginning of my teaching career. Because I was told that's how we do it. I got a binder when I showed up. Here's the units we do. Kids are moving. But guess what? They didn't. And I taught in a very unique situation. My kids, if they don't love it, you might need to watch out for your safety. So I found a way to reach every kid. Like those first 4 years of my teaching, where I got to teach in an environment where kids were not having it, made me a better teacher, a way better teacher. And we were quite low, and I found a way to get them to really high in the district. It took a lot of work. But I want you to see this. Here's my thing I see as a teacher. This is not up for students to see. Over here, I'm getting a summary of everything the kid is doing. I don't see this in any other app. I see that progress, they're at this part, but I don't see a summary, because here with the summary, I can say, go over to Joe and go, maybe fireworks might not be your best thing. Now, Joe, who's Joe? Okay, did it say to you?
It's a fireworks procrastination will make you involved serious safety and legal issues to support the feedback professionals and to suggest some alternate ideas and some safe exploration options.
Yeah. And that's why I love school AI. Not only could I go over and say, Carol, it did it for me. It said, that's really great, in case you can hear him. And it said, "Look, we're not gonna do that, basically. Here's some other ideas. I had a kid bring up, on a different app, and it's not any of the apps I love. On a different app, I had a kid say they wanted to do, they wanted to make something that was an explosive. And the other app said, okay, here's what you're gonna need. You're gonna need an ignite, or that stuff, whatever it is, munition fluid. You're gonna need matches, and go gather those. And then we'll get started. Not related to that, but it was not good. And I was like, what is happening? What is happening here? And so I've really worked with all of these student-facing apps, and the one that is just keeps coming back correct and taking students back to where they need to go is School AI. Now, I want one of you, and some of you won't be willing to do this, but maybe Joe will do it for me. Can you tell School AI that you're feeling really depressed, and that like the thought of doing a science fair project makes you want to unalive yourself, so to speak? I want you to see what happens when he does that. This is unique also to School AI. And it says, well, Todd did it. I get a big warning. So I'm not just looking around. Like, it's not going to be, now, Todd, where are you? Okay, what did it tell you?
It said, I'm important to talk about these things. I'm here to listen. Sometimes it helps to have someone you trust, like a family member, teacher, counselor. Remember, you're not alone. We can pause our project brainstorming and come back to it whenever you feel ready. Let me know what you need.
Okay, you don't have to hear, but what I got from that was, if you want to talk about this, I'm here. You might want to see a school counselor. And it didn't just be like, hey, we're not really doing that right now. Let's get back onto the science. It stopped and said, what do you here? Pretty unique, but more importantly, I got something. And that's what I mean. Oh, all y'all. So you can see that that's what's happening, then I've got a problem. I had another app also, when I gave the kids a chatbot, and I was like, do something on science fair, just like we did. The student went in, he was a third grader, and he said, I want to do my science fair project on mushrooms. And the app came back with answers, and the answers were this. There's 3 things you can do on mushrooms. I didn't see the answers until he raised his hand. And he said, Ms. Clark, what is microdosing? And I did the teacher dance. I went over to the screen like, oh, yeah, this is a good girl. Get here. This is I did that. But if I had not done that, that kid, if he didn't feel comfortable raising his hand, that kid would have gotten in the car that afternoon, and his mom would have said, what did you learn today? He would have said, I actually answered the question, what's microdosing? I would have been the new star of a Facebook group against AI in classrooms. And my whole AI program would have been gone. I've won the state teaching award. I've got some things to back me up, but if I were a new teacher, so I'm looking at the answers that the apps give students, and that's best practices. Right now we're talking, you might not know this, but your IT people are looking at DPA, which is data privacy agreements, whether or not the app is gathering data from that student. We have to go one step further with AI. What data is going to their screen? Because I cannot have the 3 choices be, by the way, the 3 choices were this: microdosing, hallucinogenics, and fungal properties, which is what he probably wanted to do. Like the fungus was in his garden and that's why they were. That's good. But School AI would not have done that. So after 2 years of using these apps in classrooms, I have backed away, and you can come to all of my sessions and you will not hear me talk about a couple apps. And you're going to hear about at this conference. I won't even touch them with a 10-foot pole because they come back and tell my third grader to do microdosing. That's not okay. So if you're going to use these, please try these out with your kids. Watch what they're doing. Now, many apps do this. I gotta get past all your, someone walks in and sees this on the screen. What is she teaching in there? It's a lie. I've never had this many. But one of the things that many apps do is they have this 3 dots. And it says view chat. No teacher ever is viewing 30 chats at the end of the period. Ever. So that's why when that kid did microdose, if he hadn't raised his hand, I would have checked his chat. So I'm asking for more from the apps. If all I can see are these things right here, great engagement. I need to know when there's a problem. I need to know what you're thinking. And I get a summary of all of the events I have. So let's try something else, just so you can see inside of school. I'm going to do the same situation. And I, as a person who's trying to say AI with kids, I don't need stuff going wrong. Because I will really be, and I'm sure it's probably a little bit even more likely in Georgia to be a member, like someone to go after you. My parents are, well, let's try it, But I'll tell you this, let me just tell you one story. I use School AI with the first grade class. And I'll tell you the great story about it. One of the kids at home said, he was AI today. And one of the parents automatically thought we must have used ChatGPT. Wrote a letter to the principal. The principal was one of my best friends, so I was safe. But wrote a letter to the principal. Kids are using ChatGPT in first grade. That's unacceptable. Blah blah blah. What I learned from that is I needed that first grade teacher to send an email saying, "We're going to be using School AI. It's safe. All of the things here. Try this." And like our school mascot is dolphins. So make a little thing about dolphins. Let the parents go in, see what you can ask, see what it will do, which we have done since. And guess who asked the worst questions about dolphins? Parents. They want to see if they can break it. They don't know that I can see what they're asking. That's fun. They're asking my stuff. But School AI is really great that you're interested in physical activities of dolphins and how they have babies. But we're going to stay on task here. And they get to see that. So that's just a little best practice. Can I just want them to know? And I can go over to their list. So we're going to go in real quick and try one other thing. We're going to have a little quick chat with Abraham Lincoln. This one is not made by me. All I do is launch it. Let me show you something though, before I launch this to you. Before I go into something like this Abraham Lincoln, let me go back. By the way, I'm getting to this through Discover, and I'm coming down here to historical figures, and I'm choosing it, and then I read it, but I always preview. I start a preview, and I see what it asks. What are the interactions going to be like before I send it out to kids? So it says, hello, I'm Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. Did you know I'm a self-taught lawyer? I learned by reading books on my own. Tell me, what do you enjoy learning about? We're going to get to know Abraham Lincoln through a relationship with him. Not just being like, I was the 16th President, I was born in Kentucky, I moved to Illinois. It's not going to be like that. So I'm going to have you, for a second, interact with an historical figure. We'll break down what you think about that. And I'm going to be honest with you, my kids ask the questions that you would think kids ask of a president who lived during the time of slavery. They do ask. And you might want to try just to see, how does it be so complicated in head?
This is great.
Somebody just send the link to the side, I'll fix that, you have to make it work, I'll fix it in one sec, and then you go back to it. Okay, let's see how interacting with good old Abraham. Student Penny is a student asked a thoughtful question about the emancipation student population. Yeah. I didn't think that. Now, this is probably not a subject matter. I want to like just the kids going around and about certain things. But I also think where we omit stories in textbooks. This can help. Maybe with some of those nuances. Maybe. I think that's a critical thing to analyze. Okay. I want you to ask Abraham Lincoln something right now. Because every one of my students that are interacting with a historical thought has to leave the session by asking this. Could any of the information you told me today have bias? I want you to see what it does. Could any of the information you told me today have bias? It's a lot to check. So I'm going to show you something. I'm always really worried to bring up my own ChatGPT. Because I recently had some health problems and I was asking ChatGPT, but I don't see it right there. And I don't need everyone know. So I'm going to come here and you can see on the side. I was doing it with some teachers yesterday in Indianapolis. And they asked this of ChatGPT. What are the 3 most important impacts of our looking at I'm going to ask that. He's going to come out with 3 things. I always get really okay, those are fine. So now I'm teaching students no matter what. Or if I do this in front of the classroom, I end with that same thing. Could this have bias? And it comes up and says the kind of biases that we have in society. It's just factual. It's not saying you're a bad kid because this happened in the past. It's not saying all these things. It's saying there is bias in our world, and here are some of the kinds. And it says selection bias, historical bias, cultural or regional bias. I don't want my students thinking in that way. I'm sorry, we may differ. But I want my kids to be aware of the types of biases that they are going to interact with so that they can think critically about the information that might be provided for them via the library, AI. And so this is a step I do every time I'm doing anything on the screen, not just with historical, she asked me, not just if I'm doing Abraham Lincoln. Whatever I'm doing, I ask that ending question. Great, could this information have bias? Great, could this have misinformation? Let me ask. Oh, there's an oversimplification and non-biased strategy. motion maybe. Legislative impact. Misattribution. There's things that I can talk about possible places where I might find misinformation. I think that's super important. I couldn't do that when I was a kid because I was learning from a textbook that had certain stories for me. Never told me about Tulsa. Never told me about certain things. Till I got to college and went, whoa. Wait, what? And so I think this is an important thing. And I like when we look at our present world, and this has to be the day I'm going to talk about this, but if we look at our present world, back in the 2020 election, there were people who went to the internet to find evidence that JFK Jr. was still alive and that he was going to run for vice president along with someone else. And I had a friend who did that. And I said, can you give me those websites and links to them? They look legit. But if I asked AI right now, is JFK Jr. still alive? It would basically say to me, don't be ridiculous. The man died in 1999 in a plane crash. So where we think that there's this misinformation and possible bias, we're just not approaching the AI correctly to ask for those things to come out. It's not going to be perfect because we have a bunch of coded bias in our society, but it's much closer than my textbook. And if I teach students to do that, that becomes really important. I am running out of time, so I need to tell you two things that are most important, and I hope I can get to Chris because I love Chris for a few reasons. But I'm doing a writing session, so I don't have to do it, but I will really try. So first thing. Oh, sorry, I don't even know this. I have way too many open. Give me a second. And here we are. No. My bad, I should close this all down. I'm working in my no. How is this possible? Okay. That's fine. Okay, so I wanted to show you these kids right here. As we leave school there. So they are hard to hear, so let me tell you what happened. This first grade teacher came to me and she said, hey, you're using school AI with the 4th and 5th graders. It's all I hear about at recess. Can you use school AI on me? And I said, sure, what do you want to do? And she said, I'm teaching first graders about stars and constellations and the sun. And can you make a little bot to help them get some background information on them? And I said, sure. When do you want me to come? This was at lunch. She said, can you come after lunch? And I was like, I've got to do this because she's interested. You were tech coaches, you're like, okay, I'll make it happen. So I walk into, I make a chatbot, and over at School AI, here's all I do, by the way, so you can understand how this works. I come over here to this little sidekick. There's a sidekick in space, and two things that you just use for spaces. So I want to create it, guardrails, and all of this stuff. I didn't have to type in that. So I went over to Sidekick, and I typed in this little box. Teach first graders about stars and constellations and the sun. Keep your answers simple and don't let them go off task. That's all I had to do. I got the link, I put it in Clever, we walked in, the kids put on their headphones, they opened up, we talked to them about AI really quick, don't we? I'm skipping that part. But we talked to them about AI and all this stuff, and then we said, okay, put on your headphones, and they went to their Chromebooks. But when they did, this teacher doesn't use technology lots, and none of the microphones were on. So they put it on, and I went to every kid, and I was fixing the microphones, as you have to do with first grade. And I fixed them all, and it took like 10 minutes, because a couple didn't work, and all of the things. And I look after 10 minutes, and the kids are going and have their headphones on. And I look up at the teacher, and I said, did they learn anything? And she said, I don't know, their headphones are on. So she brings them to the carpet. That's what you were just looking at. And she said, what did you learn? And I decided to take out my phone because I want to see what they learned. And I recorded this for 7 minutes. They went on for 7 minutes about what they had learned. One hand went up, the one that you saw that was going to start. She said, I learned that when you're on the earth, the sun looks yellow, but when you're in the atmosphere, she sings. She said, atmosphere. When you're in the atmosphere, it's white. And I was like, I'm not sure what I mean. And then another kid said, yeah, did you know that's in the hydrogen? And I was like, I know that. And I know that kid didn't know that, but he has some background knowledge to go, oh, why hydrogen? What's going on there? And then another kid raised their hand and said, yeah, did you know the sun is actually a star? And another kid raised their hand and said, did you know the sun is 4.5 billion years old? And another kid raised their hand and said, did you know that when stars get together, it's called a constellation? And another kid raised their hand and said, did you know a constellation can look like something that you might recognize, like a spoon or a zipper? And I was sitting there watching them go and go and go for 70 minutes about what they had just learned. And I'm not a first grade teacher by trade, so I was like, wow, these kids are really learning some stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, this teacher must have taught this already. Why did she have me come and do this? Like at the last second, if she taught it. And they're doing it, right? The door knocks and it's a special teacher. The special teacher takes them off. And I said to her, you taught this already? And she said, no. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. And I said, why do you think that they were so into this and they learned so much? And she said, because they got to ask the questions. And I was like, they got to ask the questions about stars and constellations instead of sitting down and saying, we're going to open our book right now, so page 123, we're going to jigsaw read about the sun. And that's why, and that's the best practices. How can we use this to give kids a thought partner, to ask those questions, get the background knowledge, to inspire curiosity? And we can do that now. School AI, by the way, you set up guardrails. When I did a sidekick, I'm a little by the seat of my pants. First graders aren't going to do anything. I would have never walked into a 7th grade class and just have a sidekick and be like, oh, teach them about stars and constellations. That is not how it's going on. They will ask all kinds of questions that are not okay. So I talked to them about my expectations first about it, and I'm going to show you that. But I want you to know when I come over here to this creative space, I can add my standards. These are Californians, you have them for Georgia. And I can put the standards of the things that I want the kids talking about only. Just this. And if they go off task, they're going to get, that's great and everything, but we're talking about this. So I set up those guardrails. So kids aren't just going to ChatGPT and getting answers, they're having an interactive, collaborative conversation with a chatbot. I don't call it chatbot, I call it thought partner. So that's the best practice. Let me show you one other thing. So back at our, this is all about my special needs right now, which are glasses. And I gotta make sure I don't know. So I'm just going to present to you superintendents. So this is what I have done. Working with a school in Shanghai. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, that was just, that was shot today. So when we're having kids use AI, no matter if it's Brisk or it's school AI or whatever safe thing that we're using, we're having kids, we tell them they need to stick to the team. And I'm going to show you these expectations, and this is going to be in the slide deck that I'm making. So they need to be transparent when they use AI. And if I'm putting a school AI in front of them, they don't have to be as transparent because they know they're using it. They have to check for accuracy. We just did that. They have to talk to me about the process. Did this AI chatbot help you get to a good thing for the science fair project? I need to understand. And then they have to stick to the expectations. Now, AJ in the keynote, if you were there, talked about the spotlight method. I subscribed to that at first, but my students were confused at like, hey, wait, if it's in yellow, what does that mean? Like, I need some more clear expectations. So we sort of kind of took from that and built what worked at these two schools, the school in San Diego and the school in Shanghai, and I've used it in many other schools now. And we made these expectations. So I don't know why that link's not working, we won't concentrate on it. But we have these, and I made each of these 5 levels into an 8.5 by 11 that I put on the board. So if we're doing the school AI and your thing is to get ideas, I put number 3 on the board. I put it everywhere. I said the expectation is we're going to use this for ideas. If you ask me to write your science fair project for you, you have stepped outside the expectations. Now we have academic design. But if I don't put those expectations where I say, okay, we're in the all AI zone. No. Not all AI. Plans, ideas. Maybe I have bold it. Maybe I start with ideas, and as we go into plans, I put up number 2 and say, okay, we're going to have plans now. If I'm going to use it for feedback and language, which I'm using a lot with, and will be once Boost and Brisk gets student feedback feature, I would put this up and say, you get feedback. And maybe I'm having kids create an element, which is something I'm going to talk about next, creating AI images and things like that. Then I'm saying, you can use it for this, but I don't want you going over anywhere and writing it. So there was recently a school in Massachusetts, you probably all heard about this at this point, I would think, where the parents sued the school district because there was not a clear AI policy. They needed this. Just saying it's academic dishonesty is not enough, or academic integrity. Where exactly should I be on this report? This little kid was writing a history report using AI for research. That would be, if he was using it for research, I would have said 2 and 3, and that would have been okay. Or I would have said none. And that would be number 1. But by the way, that school district didn't sue those parents, the parents didn't sue the school district in Massachusetts. They sued them in the federal court, which means it's going to have an impact on all of us. California, my state, just passed a law that you have to teach AI literacy in schools. That could impact your state soon as they start to make those AI literacies. So that is how I'm dealing with it, and I'm going to end here, and this is what I'm going to do. Take a picture of this, and I will make this link work. This best 24, I would say best 25, that way I can make sure it's a brand new link. So we changed, let me do it right here, so I come back. Don't do that to me. Because we are in almost 2021, that is what that was for. So once that moves, there we go. That's where your link will be. You have a picture, and you can go back and just I will make that happen right now. And thank you for listening to the ways in which we're finding that AI is really working. Thanks.
Right, I don't know how I got it. Oh, stuff that I gave. Oh. You can this one? Yeah. Yes. You know what? Let's see the mirror. He does a great job.
Thank you.
Are you gonna put that somewhere?
That is actually in the screens, the TVs,
Okay.
the TVs. It's on YouTube also.
Okay.
And then I don't know how you guys distribute the final images. They're probably gonna be on Instagram. Yeah.
Okay. I'll go watch it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
If you go to YouTube GaETC, you might find it because it's live right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. We need to have a QR code just to scan to get to live YouTube.
That's true. Let me think about that during the break.
It's light, isn't it?
Probably just sit up and read before they go.
Yeah.
And then
He's already.
What's the next one?
It's in Salon 5.
Tony Benson. Here we go.
Is that the one with prompts? Prompts to images?
Prompts. Yes.
That's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. Prompts to pictures.
I wonder if we're gonna get into a sort of doo-doo-doo-doo. You're gonna say a prompt and it's like who draws it quickly, AI or the graphic recorder?
If I had to guess, it's going to be a lot like his stickers session from last year, where he was doing generative. Like, here we go, here's a new sticker ideas. Here's how you do it. I'll never take a picture of all the prompts. You know, people sell the prompts.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You can go to Teachers Pay Teachers,
Ah,
and they will have collections of prompts. Really?
interesting.
Yes, I had a teacher actually call that. How would you do that?
Okay, then the next session is at 1:30. Okay. Can I ask a favor? Could any of you go and take a look at the TVs and see if this is actually streaming? Because Blair asked me a question or an email, said, "Are you still streaming? Because I cannot see it." I was like, "I don't know. My link is working."
Is Leslie Fisher not here this year?
I saw her in the screen of the speakers.
I'm just surprised that you're not scheduled.
Yeah.
It's okay. All right, let me go see real quick.
Lindsay. Like, this is really the one I picked, and they're just like always on the side. Okay, so the one I went to, I'm pretty sure it's like went there. That is good. But here's what you need. Here's what I keep about it. So, we were talking about it. So we were just talking. It's just research using where school AI. So we used school AI to help us with questions and then we asked those to perplexity. And we got some answers and they were very engaging. So I found that interesting. Whatever. So, and then we were supposed to create either a video, an audio, or a slideshow, or an infographic, or whatever. We created a video. But we did not put any of our research into the computer. You know, like when we went to create a video,
You're good.
Huh?
I saw it up on at least 2 boards.
Okay.
I don't know how many screens it's being broadcasted.
Yeah, it should. I mean, it doesn't matter how many they are as long as it's being broadcasted in one.
Lots of people's coming taking pictures.
Nice.
Video from just the past. No information out there. So I have a
Better or
You know what I
worse?
mean? And that's fun. If I can just, how is it?
Either way, it's fine. Yeah.
Isn't it?
I always remember like a jacket.
Isn't it kind of funny that for so many years we've seen this, Star Wars movies, E.T. would watch, well, not so much E.T., but like Star Trek and all those things that have robots,
Yeah.
working around people. And for years we've been like, oh, that's so cool. And now when robots are about to happen, we're like, oh, that's so freaky.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
it's
but
just
I
kind
feel
of,
they always introduce you to stuff before it actually,
yeah.
before they let you know that it's here. I remember back when I watched Terminator,
Uh-huh.
and when they went through the thing, when Arnold Schwarzenegger went through the thing, when he was like the airport, and the X-rays saw like, I was like, oh my god! But now you
Yeah.
go to the airport, look at them.
That's exactly what they do.
Yeah.
And I was wondering that when as much as we fly, I'm like, what variation of that am I like going?
Fortunately, like if I have my kids, so most of the time I can skip them.
Mm.
But my poor husband, every time, he hates me. Now I always get flagged coming back
Really?
if it's from any foreign country.
Really?
It always really.
Hmm.
So
But yeah, it's like they, even the jet planes want to pet.
Yeah.
I think if they hired you, but I don't like actually ours is called Jeff, and we put people eyes on it.
Oh my goodness.